Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharyamadhyamam Asmadacharyaparyantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, so we will go to verse mantra number 21. So we are on the first adhyaya, second Valli, 21st mantra, first chapter, second section, mantra number 21. We will chant. Asino duram rajati.
Asino duram vrajati.
Shayano yati sarvataha.
Shayano yati sarvataha.
Kastam madam devam.
Kastam madam devam.
Madanyo gyatum arhati.
Madanyo arhati.
Okay, so I'm just muting you all. And we can look at the words. Asinaha. So asinaha comes from the word asana. The word asana doesn't mean a movement as we normally think. Asana means a posture. Physically, actually, asan means a seat. So asino. Asinaha means sitting. And duram rajati. So asino duram rajati. Sitting, that atma goes far. Literal meaning. Asino duram rajati. The subject is atma. So he's saying the atma is sitting, but duram rajati, it goes far. Then shayanaha, the atma is lying down, but sarvataha yati, it goes everywhere. Then he says kaha madanyaha, who other than me, mat anyaha, other than me, kaha, which person, nyatum arhati, can know tam devam, that atma, mada madam. Mada madam means which has ananda, so which is joyful and joyless. Mada is ananda, amadam is no ananda. So mada madam, which is joyful as well as joyless. So all contrary language. And so Yamaraj is talking about the two aspects of Brahman, the two aspects of the nature of Brahman. We have seen all this before as para prakriti, apara prakriti, atma, anatma. All these we have seen, gunas, no gunas. So it's the same topic which has come into the Upanishad. So one is the original nature and one is the apparent nature. So we can take, for example, a sphatica lingam, the lingam made of crystal. And around the lingam, let us say there are a lot of rose flowers. So what is the color of the lingam? Nirupam, without any color. That lingam, that crystal has absolutely no color. But because of the proximity of the rose, it appears to be red. So it has two natures. The original nature, which is colorless, but the visible apparent nature, which is red. And this red is a transferred color. And the transference has not actually happened. It only appears to have happened. So we all know that, right? Another example we can take is the ocean water. When you look at the ocean water, it appears to have a blue color. But you pick up that water in your hand, you cup your hand and pick up the water, you'll find that the water has no color. It's apparently colored, but actually colorless. The water itself takes the color from the sky, which takes it from the scattered sunlight. So you can go on analyzing. Everything will have two natures. One is apparent, one is real. So here he says, just so, in the same manner, I, the Atma, have two natures. The original factual nature, Sat Chit Ananda. But in the proximity of the body, mind, sense complex, the conditions the characteristics of the body-mind complex are falsely attributed to me, the Satchit Ananda Atma, who am without attributes. Right. So, what is the body-mind complex called? Upadhi. Upadhi is what? We saw the definition of Upadhi having three parts. One is it must be near to you. One is it must lend its characteristics to you. And the third one is the lending must be false. So if you look at the case of the Patika Lingam, the crystal lingam, and the rose is close to the crystal. The rose lends the color red to the crystal so that the crystal appears red. But the lending is factual. It is only apparent. It's not factual. It is only apparent. Because if you take away the proximity, you will find that the color also disappears. So the lending is false. Similarly, the conditions of the body and the mind, the characteristics of the body and the mind, they are falsely attributed to me, the Atma. So the Upadhi, the body-mind complex, lends its characteristics to the Atma, which is called the Upahitam, the one to whom the characteristics are lent falsely. Right? These borrowed at this Atma with the borrowed attributes is Sopadika. Sopadika is Sa Upadhi, with Upadhi. So these attributes are called Sopadika Dharma, borrowed attributes. And the original nature is called Nirupadika Dharma. So in the case of the crystal, the Sopadika Dharma, the original nature is colorless. Sorry, is Nirupadika Dharma. The Nirupadika Dharma, the original nature is colorless. But when the rose lends the red color to the crystal, that crystal with the red color, with the borrowed red color, it is called Sopadika Dharma. The attributes have been lent. They are not the real attributes. And why have they been lent? Because of the Upadhi. And therefore, Sopadika Dharma means how it appears after the lending. Nirupadika Dharma means what is the original nature. The original nature, the Nirupadika Dharma of the crystal is colorless. The Sopadika Dharma with the attributes lent from the flower, it is red. Similarly, the original nature of mind, the Nirupadika Dharma, is Sat Chitan Ananda. And the borrowed nature, the so-called superimposed nature, Sopadika Dharma, is I am a man, I am a woman, I am tall, I am small, I am happy, and I am unhappy, all these. And here, if you look at it, all these things are being mentioned, but different language. So, Asino Duram Vrajit. By its own nature, in the real nature, real Swarupam, Atma cannot travel. Right? Why? Because it is all-pervading. An all-pervading entity is present everywhere. There is no question of traveling anywhere. And therefore, it is motionless. This motionless nature is Nirupadika Dharma. That is the original nature of the Atma. But when the body-mind sense complex, when that BMSC is traveling from place to place, then I say I am traveling. Here I have taken on the characteristics of the body. I, the Atma, have superimposed the travel of the body. The physical movement of the body is a traveling that I have imposed on myself, and I say I am traveling. So this is Sopadika Dharma. This travel is Sopadika Dharma. The motionlessness of the Atma is Nirupadika Dharma. And so he says, Asinaha, remaining stationary, sitting down in one place. From which viewpoint? From the viewpoint of no upadhi. So Nirupadika Drishtya, from the point of having no upadhis, the Atma remains Asinaha, stationary. And then it says Duram Rajati also. But from the viewpoint of the body-mind sense complex, from the Sopadika Drishtya, the Atma seems to travel. And if I don't know the original nature of the Atma as Asinaha, then I take Duram Rajati as my real nature. So I take the apparent nature as the original nature, as though traveling, right? This is Jagrad Avastha. Okay. This is the first part. Asino Duram Rajati is the example relating to the waking state, the Jagrad Avastha. Then he says, Shayano Yati Sarvataha. Shayanaha, stationary. Stationary means not moving anywhere. So not moving anywhere, being motionless, Sarvataha Yati. Atma extends everywhere. So what the answer is, how do you explain this? Shayanaha. I am the motionless, all-pervading consciousness. Even though I am the motionless, all-pervading consciousness, Sarvataha Yati, which extends all over the place, what do? I am identified with the body, and therefore I think Shayanaha. I am located in one place. So Sarvataha Yati is the Nirupadika Dharma, all-pervading. Shayana means I am lying down in one place. It is the Sapadika Dharma. So both the examples explain the same thing. One is the all-pervading nature of the Atma. One is the motionless part of the Atma. And the other is the movement or the localization of the body-mind sense complex. From the viewpoint of the Atma, Asinaha, I am not moving. From the viewpoint of the Atma, Sarvataha Yati, I am extending all over the place, all pervading. From the viewpoint of the body-mind complex, Duram Rajati, I am traveling, and Shayanaha, I am located in one place. Why is that meaning taken? Because Shayana means lying down. Lying down is what the body lies down. And therefore, if you ask me where am I, the answer will be wherever the body is located, I am there. So I am in bed, or I am in the kitchen, or I am in the dining room. I connect that with the body only. So this concept of my being present in one place, the location concept, that I am located, that there is a localization of the Atma, that comes because of what? Because of the identification with the body, because of the Deha Abhimana. And therefore, because I am identified with the body, I take myself as the body. And therefore, if you ask me who I am, I say I'm a boy or I'm a girl. If you say, where are you? I say I'm in this bedroom, or I'm in Ahmedabad, or I'm in London. Wherever the body is, that is the answer which comes. In deep sleep, in Sushupti Avastha, what happens? My body identification is gone. Why? Because the mind is not present. The mind is resolved. And in Sushupti Avastha, you do not know where your body is. You are not identified with the body. And therefore, you do not have an idea about the body location. You don't say, I am here or I am there. So the localization is caused by the body, which means by all the indriyas, by the sense organs. And when that sense of being limited to one place, which I'm referring to as localization, when the sense of being limited to one place has gone because of the inactivity of the sense organs, then I am in my original nature, all pervading, motionless everywhere. And therefore, yeah, where you say here, Sarvataha Yati, it means I have lost the limitation caused by my body identification. It is as if when the body identification is gone, it is as if I've expanded to fill all possible areas, to be present everywhere. The moment I wake up, that body abhimana, deha abhimana, body identification comes back, and therefore, seemingly from that all-pervading Atma, I shrink back into the body, seemingly shrink back into the body. This is what is the idea being conveyed. And here, Shankara gives the example of Chintamani. So he says, Eva Chintamani vat abhavasate. Chintamani is a mythical jewel. It's a special precious stone supposed to be found in Swarga, the heavens. And what does that jewel do? What is mythical about the jewel? That Chintamani, the very word, Chinta. Chinta is what? Thought. Money is a jewel. So the very Chintamani, the property is apparently that that jewel changes its form according to your thoughts. So if you think of a house, the Chintamani appears to you as your house. If you think about your child, that Chintamani will take the form of the child. So he's saying this is the example here. You think what you are. Because you think you are the body, you think you are localized, therefore you find that you are localized. Okay. Then Kahatam Madamadam Devam. So Mada is Ananda. Amada means absence of Ananda. Here again, both the natures are being referred to. Mada means Nirupadika Dharma, Nirupadika Swarupam. The Swarupam, the nature, without any superimposition, without the body, mind, sense complex. That is Mada. Mada is Ananda. And Amadam. Amadam is Saupadika Dharma, when the body is there. Because the limitations of the body are taken on myself. And the body is usually limited, miserable, unhappy. All those qualities I superimpose upon myself. And such a Deva. So Deva is Madamadam Devam. Devam here means Atma. He says, Mad Anyaha Nyatum Arhati. Who but people like me? Mat Anyaha. Who but somebody other than me? Mat Anyaha. Who but somebody other than me can know this Atma. Nyatum Arhati. This indicates what? That this knowledge requires, here other than me is who? A person who has got sadhana chatushtaya, the person who has got chitta shuddhi. So who other than me? It's not saying somebody else can know. It is meaning only I can know. Why? Because I have got discriminative power, I have got viveka buddhi, I have got sadhana chatushtayam, and therefore I am able to make out these two aspects of the Atma, the higher nature and the lower nature, described in all these examples. Okay. The next mantra is also more or less in the same manner. It defines in different adjectives. So we will check. Ashariragam sharireshu.
Ashariragam sharireshvan.
Ashariragam sharireshu.
Ashariragam
Ashariragam
sharireshu.
sharireshu
Anavastheshu vastitam.
Anavasteshvasthitam.
Mahantam vibhumatmanam.
Mahantam vibhumatmanam.
Matva dhiro na shochati.
Matva dhiro nashoti.
Okay. So Matva in the last quarter, second line, last quarter, Matva has to be connected to Atmanam. So Matva Atmanam. Having known this Atma, and what kind of Atma? Asariram, which has got no body. Avasthitam, which is the permanent one. Anavastheshu. So Anavastheshu means in the impermanent one. So that you have to read together. Anavastheshu avasthitam. That word has to be broken up. Anavastheshu avasthitam. The permanent one, which is resident in the impermanent one. So this, which is this impermanent one? Sharireshu. So you have to put it this way. Anavastheshu sharireshu avasthitam. That permanent one, which is resident in the impermanent bodies, that is defining the Atma again. So there are all these definitions. Ashariram, bodiless. Anavastheshu sharireshu avasthitam. That permanent one, which is resident in the impermanent body. Mahantam, which is big. Vibhum, Vibhum means all pervading. So all pervading. Dhiraha, the discriminative one, na shochati. So what are the adjectives? The adjectives are ashariram, anavastheshu sharireshu avasthitam, mahantam, and vibhum. These are the visheshanam, the adjectives for Atma. And dhiraha is the subject, the discriminative student. Na shochati, does not grieve. So having known the Atma, which is without body, which is the permanent one in all the impermanent bodies, which is big and which is all pervading, what happens? The discriminative person, the sadhaka, does not grieve anymore. Okay. So na shochati, does not grieve. Very, very important mantra. So this asharireshu, the Atma, which is in the form of Sakshi Chaitanyam present in every body. That Atma in the form of Sakshi Chaitanyam present in every body. And that body is stable or unstable, he says anavastheshu. That body is unstable, it is impermanent. But the Atma itself is permanent. Now here in fact, as part of Nididhyasanam, we should be dropping the word Atma. Or instead of Atma, we should use I. So I, who am I? Asharireshu. I have no body. I am in the form of Sakshi Chaitanya, present in every other body. What kind of bodies? Anavastheshu sharireshu. All impermanent bodies which are, which can die at any point of time. And as long as I know what, that's why he uses the word over there. What is that word? He says avasthitam. I am the permanent one. I am the immortal. I can use this mortal body to claim my immortal nature as Atma. The body is definitely needed, right? Because you have to go to a guru to study Vedanta, you have to do karma to purify your mind. For all this, the body and the mind are needed. But the clarity should be there that even though I am intimately associated with the body, ashariram, I am ashariram. I am without any real connection to the body. I pervade the body. I give the body the strength to be alive, the capacity to think, the capacity to learn, but I am not the body. Right? So like the space in the hall, or like the air outside, the space outside, if there is a fire burning, if there is dark smoke coming out, that space is not contaminated by the smoke. Even though the smoke is in the space. Smoke has to be there in the space only. You cannot be outside the space because space is all pervading. So in spite of the smoke being in the space, that space outside is not contaminated by the smoke. This is called the asanga swarupa, the no connection with the whatever is within you. I have no connection with whatever the body does, even though the body and its actions are all inside me. Okay. Now we have to be very, very careful over here. We have to understand that Atma has no sambandha with the bodies. I have no sambandha with the bodies. That I have to be very careful to say. I should not say that I have no bodies. I have to say that I have no sambandha, no connection with any body. I cannot say, to say that I have no bodies is wrong. Why? Why is it incorrect to say that I have no body?
Because I am Atma, and for Atma to manifest, body is very much necessary, required. So,
Anybody else?
Body is upadhi for Atma.
No, my question is pretty simple. Why is it incorrect to say that I have no body? Why is it correct to say that I have no relationship with the body? What is the difference?
It is with regards to borrowed existence. That
You can say in a way, but remember that where are all the bodies?
in the Atman itself.
In the Atma. So you cannot say you've got no bodies. All the bodies are within you only. You can say I am not the body. but you cannot say I have got no body. And therefore, when you say I am not the body, there is in fact a bhajan in Shivananda Ashram TTC which you, I am not the body, I am not the mind, right? So that's saying the same thing, that I am not the body, I have no connection with the body, I have no sambandha with the body. But I should be very, very careful never to say that I have no body, because all the bodies are mine only. Because I enliven them all are mine. Right? And they're all dependent upon me, so they're all mine. That's one point. Then you go to the next line, Mahantam Vibhum. So you have to break that up. Mahantam Vibhum Atmanam. So this Sakshi Chaitanyam is not confined to the body only. Mahantam, right? Now, Mahantam means big, very big. And the literal meaning of Mahantam is big. And there's a grammatical problem here, which Shankara notes. When you say big, do you, see any problem there? Then the using of the term big.
It is always relative.
Comparative.
It is always relative, right? A big mosquito is different in the order of bigness from a big elephant. So you should be very careful about the use of the word big. And because the word Mahantam is used here, Shankara is not happy. Shankara says Mahantam should be understood as Vibhum. So Mahantam, Vibhum. They are not two different words. Mahantam means Vibhum, Vyapinam, all pervading, infinite. So Mahantam means very, very big because it is all pervading, therefore infinitely big. And what does this comparison show? That Jivatma is identical with Parama. The limitlessness of the Jivatma, the moment you say Vibhum, all pervading, limitless, it is Nirupadika Dharma. It is without the body, because bodies are always limited. So when I say, for example, in a lot of prayers, we say Dasoham, right? When I say Dasoham, what does Dasoham mean?
Complete surrenderance.
I am the
I am,
Das.
I am that.
I am
Das. I'm your
Like
servant. I'm the
servant.
Aham Dasaha. I am your servant. Okay. So that Dasoham is Sopadika Dharma. If you have to convert that Dasoham into Nirupadika Dharma, what do you have to say?
Soham.
You have to say
I am
Soham.
you.
Soham. Soham means I am that. Aham. I am you, or I am that. So this, whenever you say Dasoham, you continue to be in Sopadika Dharma. You continue to be in triangular format. But you have to graduate to Soham. You have to graduate to binary format. Why? Because this Sopadika Dharma, this Dasoham, this triangular format is in Vyavaharika. It is all powerful. It is very powerful in Vyavaharika because all the experiences that we have are according to the law of karma. The law of karma operates in the Vyavaharika plane alone. And because there is the law of karma operating in the Vyavaharika plane, I will never get permanent freedom. Being a bhakta, dasoham, will not save me from the effects of karma. Right? Whether I am dasoham, a good dasa or a bad dasa, karmic effects will continue. Even the most divine dasa, for him also the karmic effects continue. So we see a lot of literature where it is said they're saying the name of Rama is enough in Kala Yuga and all that. It will give moksha. It will not. It's a very huge misconception. Vedanta says only jnanam can give moksha. Being a dasoham will never give moksha. You will continue to be dasa. You will continue to be a samsari. And this person who understood this matva, who understood all this, dhiraha. He is the one who has understood the nature of Atma as without body, as the permanent in the impermanent, as the Mahantam, as the Vibhum. Such a dhiraha, such a wise person, na sochati, he does not have any sorrow. Because in this kind of knower of Atman, what kind of knower of Atman? The one who has claimed the Atma as himself. There is no legitimate reason for sorrow to remain. Right? There may be sorrow in the mind. Remember, the mind is anatma. The mind may have sorrow, but when you have claimed yourself as the atma, you have disowned the mind as yourself. This is what Krishna meant. In which very famous line? Very, very famous line. Chapter 2. You have to remember. What is the line?
Sukha dukha samay kripa.
No. Panditaha na anushvachan.
No.
Wise man does not grieve. Why? Because wise man will disclaim the mind. The mind may grieve, but the Nirupadika Atma, who is the wise man, is free from worry, is free from sorrow. Very, very important verses. You will find that all the ideas in these verses, in these mantras, they have been borrowed in Bhagavad Gita also. So the Panditaha na Anushuchanti has come from here. It's an extract from here. Okay, now we look at mantra number 23. So we'll chant. Please unmute yourself. Nayam Atma Pravachanena Labhyaha.
Nayam Atma Pravachanena Labhyaha.
Na Medaya na Bahuna Shrutena.
Na
Medhaya
Medhaya
na bahuna
Shrutena.
shrutena.
Yame Vaisha Vranute Tena Labhyaha.
Yame vaishane vrinete tena labhyaha.
Tasyesha Atma Vrinute Tanukswam.
Tasyesha
Atma
vivrinute
Vivrunute Tanugum
tanaswam.
Swam.
So here it is Tanukswam and not Tanugum. Why?
Tanug. Because it's a consonant. Next.
Because there's a double consonant following. Okay.
Yeah.
Swa is a double consonant. So the gum doesn't come, the g comes. And that's only for chanting purposes. Okay. Now look at what he's actually saying here. I am Atma. So that first word is na, I am Atma. So you take the I am Atma out. I am Atma. This Atma. Na pravachena na labhyaha. So you can add the na to labhyaha. This Atma is not gained. Na labhyaha. Not gained. How? Pravachanena. Only through mere recitation. So pravachan here is recitation of the Veda. So pravachanena labhyaha is not gained through mere recitation of the Vedas. Na medhayaha. So here medha is the memory power. Nor through memorizing the Veda. Na bahuna shrutena. Nor through just lot of shravanam. Then how is it gained? Tena eva labhya. It is attained by him only. Yam. Who? That person. Esha varunute. Whom this Eshaha is Atma. Whom this Atma chooses. So very, very beautiful verse. This Atma cannot be obtained through mere recitation or through memorizing the Shruti Vedas or through repeated Shravanam also. It is attained by only that person whom Eshaha Vranute. This Atma chooses. And he explains, Eshaha Atma Vivranute Tanum Swam Tasya to him. This Atma choose which person this Atma chooses. That is, Yam Eshaha Vranute, that person whom this Atma chooses, Eshaha Atma Swam Tanum Tasya Vivranate. That Atma reveals its true nature only to that person. So in simple language, the Atma reveals its real nature to only that person whom the Atma chooses. Okay. Now, how do we know whether Atma has chosen me or not is the question, right? Here in these two mantras, Yama is pointing out the disciplines, the sadhana required for this jnana. So when he says, I am Atma na pravachanena labhyaha, this Atma cannot be obtained through mechanical chanting. What is the logic? What is the logic of saying that? The problem is an intellectual one.
Intellectual understanding.
The problem of not being free, the problem of bondage, problem of bandhan as they call it, is intellectual. And the solution has to be intellectual. And therefore, mechanical chanting cannot rectify it. And here there's a criticism. If you expect a solution from merely your prayers, if you just go to the Lord and say, please give me moksha, then what will happen? That moksha will not come and your faith in Easwara will be shaken. So it is important for all of us to understand what the scripture says, because there is no other source of knowing what the scripture says other than the scripture itself. And therefore, only those who have studied the scriptures really get the import of all these sentences. If you tell somebody else who is not exposed to scripture that praying to the Lord is of no use, his faith is shaken, right? Because I am praying regularly. I thought the Lord will give me my result of my prayers. So Lord can give you a lot of things according to your prayers, but He cannot give you moksha. And moksha comes only from the understanding that you are not different from the Lord, and that understanding comes only from the scripture. So this praying, all this is what kind of bhakti? Artha bhakti, artharthi bhakti. Which chapter? Artha bhakti, artharthi bhakti. Which chapter was this? Bhagavad Gita?
12, devotion.
No.
Chapter 3.
No. You have to really brush up your Gita. I keep telling, unless your Gita is up to date, this will be really tough to follow. This chapter 7, where he talks about the 4 types of bhaktas: Artha, Artharthi, Jignasu, and the Jnani himself. So Artha Bhakti, which is the emergency Bhakti, Artharthi Bhakti, which is transactional Bhakti, commercial Bhakti, it will not solve the problem. The getting moksha involves a movement from these 2 Manda Bhaktis, the elementary types of Bhakti. You have to move to Jignasu Bhakti and then become a Jnani Bhakti. So that it involves that, which means it involves the study of the scriptures. Then he says, Na medhaya. If I commit all these Vedas to memory, will I get to recognize the Atma? No. So then, does that mean that I should not pray? No. Chanting has utility, right? But will not give moksha. Committing the scriptures to memory has utility, but will not give moksha. So it is like saying that by merely resting, you will not pass the exam. You need to study also. That does not mean that resting has no utility. Resting is necessary for you to be fresh to be able to study. And therefore, each of these words has to be understood contextually only. Then, na bahuna shrutena. The Atma cannot be known by learning to chant the Vedas. That is one interpretation. The other interpretation of it is that, or interpreted as, can be interpreted as studying the Vedas. So here comes the confusion. The first interpretation is fair enough. The Atma cannot be learnt, cannot be known by chanting the Vedas. Fine, we already said that. But if you interpret this as the Atma cannot be learned, cannot be understood by studying the Veda also, then the confusion is there, right? Then how do I know the Atma? Because even if study of the Atma, study of the Vedas, what does the Veda tell me? Veda tells me about the Atma. Even by studying the Vedas, if I am not able to understand the Atma, then what is the point of studying the scripture? So here, Shankara says that when Krishna says na bahuna shrutena, he means that unless you are a mumukshu, that mumukshutvam, unless that mumukshutvam is there, mere study of the Veda will not give you moksha. That is why he says, yena eva asha prunute, yam esha vrunute, that yaha enam atmanam eva vrunute, that one person who chooses Atmajnanam as the top priority in his life. The person who chooses Atmajnanam as the top priority in his life, who is that? He is a mumukshu. You remember from Tattva Bodha, right? Mumukshu is one of the major qualifications. And if you have to be a mumukshu, you have to have chosen the Atma as your primary objective in life. When you do that, then the Atma chooses you. How to measure this mumukshutvam? You can look at the number of desires you have. The more number of desires I need to fulfill in my life, I have to spend time on them, right? To fulfill all the desires which I have to spend time. What is the flip side? When I have spent time to fulfill the desires, what is the negative aspect of that?
There is not enough time for Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasana.
There is not enough time for Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasana. The time and effort given to moksha will be proportionately less. So mumukshu is that person for whom that Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam is priority. Everything else in his life is adjusted around that. The Vedanta class is priority. All your scheduling of all your other activities goes around that Vedanta class, not the other way around. You don't say, I go to Vedanta class if I find the time. You say, I do other things after I find time for Vedanta. So that is the mumukshu. So there is an example, when there was a disciple of a guru. So the guru used to have a small kutir, small little hut near the Ganga, and he had a disciple whom he was teaching. So after 10 years of teaching, one day this disciple went to the guru and said, Guruji, you know what? I have been studying for 10 years, but I have still not understood the Atma. What is wrong? So Guruji said, okay, you come with me. I don't know if you heard the story, okay? Guruji said, you come with me. And he took him to the Ganga. And he said, look down. What do you see? So Guruji said, Guruji, I see my face. Okay. Guruji said, are you thirsty? So he said, yes, Guruji, I'm thirsty. He would drink. So this disciple put his head under the water. And the moment the disciple put his head under the water, the Guru, what did he do? He put his hand on the head of the disciple and prevented the head from coming out. The disciple struggled and struggled and struggled till he almost drowned. At the last minute, the Guru took out his hand and the disciple came out gasping for breath. So the Guru told him, have you learnt your lesson? So he said, what did he say? He said, Guruji, you almost killed me. What do you mean, have I learned my lesson? Guruji said, what was your thought in the last few moments before you came out? What was the thought?
How to come out. That intense longing and desire to come out of
The thought was, how do I get air, oxygen? How do I breathe? So Guruji told him that when your desire for moksha is just like you had the desire for that oxygen at that point of time, for breathing at that point of time, then you are a mumukshu. So that has to be top priority, right? Another example which I heard somewhere else is, supposing you have long hair. I mean, all the ladies who have long hair, and the hair catches fire, right? What is the first thing you want? Supposing your hair has caught fire, what is the first thing you want?
Want to save your hair.
That's
You don't want it to get.
That is the result. What do you need for that?
Yeah.
Water.
Water.
Fire.
Right. Now, supposing there is water over there. Maybe it's not a very clean place. Maybe slightly dirty water. Are you going to inquire into what kind of water it is? Or whether it is Rahu Kalam or not? Or the appropriate time to wash my hair or not? No, right? You know, I want water. Only the water desire is there. Such desire is mumukshutvam. So he's saying that unless you have that kind of desire, studying the Veda is not going to help. So tena labhya. Only such a seeker who has that keen desire for moksha, for him, the Atma reveals itself. Very nice way of saying, he will understand that the Atma is no other than himself. So the sadhana here being highlighted is what? Choosing moksha as the top priority. You have to learn to nourish your spiritual hunger. And what is one way of finding out? If you enjoy Vedanta class, it means you have spiritual hunger. If you do not enjoy Vedanta class, you would rather go and do some asana practice than come to Vedanta class. You would rather go and see a TV serial than to come to class. Hunger is not there. The spiritual hunger is not there means Vedanta is not relevant to you at all. Okay? That's what it means. Who deserves Vedanta? We say often God's grace should be there, appropriate prarabdha should be there. That is all very well. But the final, thing is only in your hands. If you choose the appropriate sadhana, then you are a moksha. And choosing appropriate sadhana means you are going to choose to the exclusion of everything else. It has to be the highest priority for you. Then only it is going to be beneficial, the study of the Vedas. Now we look at number 24, mantra number 24. So please unmute yourself. We will chant that. Na virato duscharitad.
Navarito duscharitat.
Dushtaritad.
Na shanto na samahitaha.
Na
No
shanto
shanto na
samahitah.
samahitah.
Na shantamanaso vapi.
Na
Shantamanaso
shantamanaso vapi.
Prajnanenainam apnuyat.
Prajnanainapyat.
So, na avaritaha. So, na avarito is na avaritaha, the one who has not withdrawn. Avarita means withdraw. Na avaritaha, one who has not withdrawn, given up. What? Duscharita, duscharitra, bad conduct. He is defining the sort of person who will not get moksha. So, the one who has not withdrawn from bad conduct. Na ashantaha, the one who lacks indriya nigraha, the one who lacks self-control, sense control. Nava, nor indeed, ashanta manasaha, the one who lacks mind control. Na api asamahitaha, nor the one who lacks mental concentration. All these people, enam prajnanena na apnuyat. They cannot obtain this Atma through knowledge. So you might get knowledge, but if you follow any of these categories, then you are not going to get moksha. So for gaining knowledge, these are the qualities being highlighted. So we saw part of it in Tattva Bodha, Sadhana Chatushraya. What are they? It's very clearly written, Na Ashantaha. That person, Damaha, who has no self-control. So the first quality we saw in Tattva Bodha, Damaha, Indriya Nigraha. Control over yourself, sense organs. Indriya Nigraha. Damaha. Ashanta Manasaha, the one who lacks mind control. We saw that quality in Tattva Bodha. Shamaha, Mano Nigraha. Asamahitaha, the one who lacks concentration. We saw the quality in Tattva Bodha. What was that? Samadhanam, focus of mind. And na avarita duscharitat, that is dharmika jivan, the one moral and ethical ways of living. That is not there at that point of time, but it is the outcome of all these three, a dharmika and moral and ethical way of living. So the first line here, navarito duscharitat, na shanto na samahita. It highlights dharma, good for individual, good for society. So there can never be a compromise between jnanam and dharma. So ajnani is supposed to lead a dharmic life according to the Veda. The jnani should also lead a dharmic life. Very often people say that, and there are many scriptural, statements which say that the rights and wrongs, the ethical codes are no longer applicable to a jnani, and therefore jnani can live as he wants. So here that mantra is very clearly saying that you can't do that. Initially, dharma is presented as a, for all in the Veda, if you see, in the Karma Kanda, dharma is presented for what purpose? It's presented for acquiring anything which you require for a comfort and for getting rid of anything which discomforts you. That is the initial way in which dharma is presented. Dharma here means Karma Kanda of the Vedas, right? And this is all covered by Artha Kama Dharma. Dharma is the means, Dharma is the sadhanam for Artha Kama, as well as Moksha, right? So you have to take Dharma as a means of avoiding suffering, and as a means of doing good, as a means of getting punyam. And with all those punyam, what do? The most valuable part of all the punyam is you use it for chitta shuddhi. So we need to ask ourselves the question: when you talk about an objective sadhana and what you obtain from it, the sadhyam, sadhana or sadhyam, the discipline and the end, the means and the end, which is more valuable? The end is always more valuable than the means, right? In fact, if you look at any means, it becomes valuable only because of the end. Supposing I want to win a particular race, okay, that is my end, that is the objective which I have. And to win that race, I need to practice every day. So that is a sadhana, a daily practice. That sadhana acquires meaning, acquires value only because the end, that is the winning the race, has value for me. If that was not there, the sadhyam value was not there, the sadhana value would never be there. And therefore, the thing here is, what is being said is that if you look upon dharma as a sadhana, as a discipline, what is the sadhyam over here? Moksha, right? So if you look upon dharma as a discipline for achieving moksha, then the danger is what? That once moksha is attained, I will drop the sadhana. Dharma I will drop. I may look upon dharma as irrelevant once I have attained moksha, and therefore my life might become adharmic. The life of the jnani might become adharmic. And Yamaraj is a bit apprehensive about this. Therefore, Veda says, initially follow dharma as a sadhana for various purusharthas, artha, kama, all those things you achieve through sadhana, through the dharma only. But initially, that dharma is valuable to you as a sadhana, right? Why? Because moksha is a sadhyam. And there only dharma becomes valuable to me, because to get moksha, I have to use dharma as a sadhana. But Veda says, after some time, once your mind is refined, you should learn to understand the value of the dharma for its own sake, as sadhyam itself. And therefore, once that understanding is achieved, it doesn't matter whether I have obtained moksha or not. I will not drop dharma at all. Therefore, here he is saying that after gaining jnanam, after gaining moksha, dharma itself is the sadhyam, something that I value for its own sake. Right? And therefore he says, prajnanena enam apniyat. Through jnanam, a person will obtain moksha only on fulfillment of the following conditions that we have seen earlier. Navarito dusharitat. You have to withdraw from all unethical ways of life. Whether it is sadhana or sadhya, dharma cannot be dropped. So the one who has not withdrawn from a dharma, he will never get moksha. And what is dharma and adharma? So there is a definition in the Mahabharata. Very, very beautiful definition. Shruyatam dharma sarvasvam shrutva chaiva padharyatam atmanaha pratikulani paresham na samachare. So he says, Shruyatam Dharma Sarvasvam. Please listen to the essence of Dharma. And Shrutvacha, having listened, Avadharyatam. Meditate upon it. Try to assimilate it. And what is the essence? Atmanaha pratikulani. Whatever is unfavorable for you, Atmanaha here is reflexive pronoun to me, I. Atmana pratikula. Whatever is not favorable for you, paresham na samachare. Do not do that to others. You see that in the Bible also. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. You should never do to other people what you don't want them to do to us. That is the essence of Dharma. Behave with others in the same manner as you expect them to behave with you. And in the 16th chapter of the Gita, those who have done the Gita, you will know that there's a long list of qualities. Daivi Sampatta, Suri Sampatta, whole list of Dharmika, Adharmika qualities are given. And the second one is Nashantaha. There it means sense control, Damaha. So the person who is not a slave of his thoughts, one who is a master of his thoughts. So here it's important to understand, how do I achieve this mastery? So it is not that no negative thought should ever come in my mind. Right? You have got a mind. That mind has vasanas. Some of those vasanas will generate negative thoughts. It is okay if it generates. What is more important is, do I nourish these thoughts or do I dismiss these thoughts? We saw the same thing in Gita also. The arrival of adharmic thoughts is not something we condemn because it is outside your control. But the nourishment of those thoughts, that is what we condemn. And that discipline of ensuring that any negative thought which arises in your mind, it is immediately dismissed. That is shamaha, indriya nigraha. Then nasamahita we saw, focused attention, consistent efforts for a long length of time is chitta samadhana, essential. Now from here, if you have followed this mantra 23 and 24 carefully, you will note that the entire sadhana chatushra sampatti aspect in Tattvabodha has been extracted from these two mantras. There is nothing new in Tattvabodha. Tattvabodha is extraction of the original Veda itself. So we'll just, it's already 12 o'clock, but I would like your indulgence to finish it off the section. The last mantra is left. So we'll just chant that and we'll try to finish that today. So please chant the 25th mantra. This is the last mantra of the Dvitiya Valli, the second section of the first chapter. Yasya brahma cha shatram cha
Yasya
ubhe bhavata odanaha
Ube bhavata
mrityur yasyopasechanam
Mrityu yasya chetanam
Itha Veda yatra saha.
Itha Veda yatra saha.
Okay, so he says, Yasya Ubhehe. Yasya. Yasya means for that Atma. Ubhehe, both. Ube means both. Both Brahma, Shatram, Cha. So Brahma here means is the Varna system. Brahma is not Satchidananda Brahma over here. Brahma is Brahmins, Brahmanas. And Shatram means Kshatriyas. So for that Atma, Brahma cha Shatram cha, both Brahmanas and Kshatriyas, Odanaha Bhavet. Odana means food. For the Atma, the Kshatriyas and the Brahmanas are food. And Mrityuhu Upasechanam. Upasechanam means chutney, sauce. And death is the sauce. And Yasya, that Atma, Kaha Veda Ittha, who can know that Atma? Yatra Saha, who can know that Atma? Where that Atma is, who can know? Very cryptic little verse. So let us see what it says. So he's saying that now Yamaraj is coming back to the main topic. The main topic is what? Atma Jnana. Atma is Jagat Karan. So one should know the Atma as the Jagat Karanam, Srishti, Sthiti, Laya Karanam. The creator, the maintainer, and the destroyer of the entire material universe. I should know that Atma as that. It's Srishti, Sthiti, Laya Karanam. And when I say I should know that Atma, I should know that I am that Atma, and I am the Srishti Karanam, I am the Sthiti Karanam, I am the Laya Karanam, I am the creator, I am the maintainer, and I am the destroyer of this Jagat, of this universe. And this is difficult for me since I have been brainwashed to look upon myself as a creation, as a created being in this universe. But Vedanta has told me that I am not the created being. I am the creator, and even the created being which has been created, I am the creator of that being also. And here Vedanta is giving the example. So Yamaraj is saying here that Atma is the swallower of the whole world. Because what is the example? The example is that of a dream world, Swapna Prapancha. When I say Atma swallows the world, what do I mean? When I wake up from the dream, my entire dream world is gone. It has vanished. I have as if swallowed that dream world. And so he says the whole world is food for the Atma. So Shatram and Brahma, Brahmana and Kshatriyas, it's a Upalakshanam. It is a generalization for everything. The whole world, it's all beings and all things in this world. The whole world is food for the Atma. Odanam bhavati. Food for the Atma. And the side dish is what? Death. Why does Yama say that side dish is death? Mrityuhu, what is upasechanam? Upasechanam is chutney. So he says death is the chutney. What is the significance of Lord Yama saying that for the Atma, the food is the whole world, but death is the chutney? Yamaraj is saying that chutney is normally not the important part of the food, right? It's a side dish. So this death, says Yamaraj, doesn't really qualify as food. It is only a sauce, a side dish. And one should not be too bothered about the side dish. And so I should understand what? As Atma, I create three things. What are they? Vesha, Kala, Prapancha. Space, time, and all objects. Vesha, space, Kala, time, Prapancha is the world, which is all objects. So when Srishti starts, when creation starts, I, the Atma, I create these three. At Pralayam, when Srishti ends, what do? I swallow these three. And therefore he says, Yasya Brahma cha Kshatracha. Brahmana and Kshatriyas represent the entire humanity. You can also take another interpretation. These two are highlighted because their primary job is to maintain Dharma. So how does the Brahmana maintain Dharma? Through educating, through scriptural education about the value of Dharma. How does Kshatriya protect Dharma? Through policing, law enforcement, external control, all these things. So both become food for the Atma at the time of Pralayam. And Mrityu, death, represents only the chutney. And what is actually saying, therefore, as I said, Atma swallows time and space. And if Atma swallows time and space, the question can come, where is that Atma located? And here the answer is that you cannot talk about your location because location is related to space. You cannot say location without space. And space itself is created by me and space itself is located on me. So where is the question of my location? And I can never talk about my location. So he says, Ka ittha veda yatra saha. Who can know where this Atma is? Who can know? So that when you say who can know, effectively you are saying nobody can know where this Atma is. And therefore, again, the question can come up. If Shruti is saying that nobody can know where the Atma is, then what is the point of my studying the scripture? And therefore, Shankara says, Kaha, that Kahu over here has to be understood as the unqualified person. Prakrita buddhi, unrefined mind. So, this unrefined mind will never know Atma in the way in which the refined mind knows Atma. So, that is what this particular thing means. That only if you have the sadhana chatushtayam, only if you have done karma yoga, only you have done upasana yoga, only if you have got chitta shuddhi, then only you are a samskrita buddhi. So prakrita buddhi is unqualified, unrefined mind. Samskrita buddhi is the refined, qualified mind. Only that refined, qualified mind can understand that you are the Atma. Nobody else can. So with this, the second Valli is over. The next class onwards, we'll start the Tritiya Valli, the third section. Any questions? We can answer now.
Om Acharya, will you put the words defining dharma on our group?
Yeah, I'll do that. From the Mahabharata, right? Yeah.
Yes, yes.
I'll do that. Okay. So if there are no other questions, so we can end up today. Thank you for your patience. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti 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 Om Tat Sat Om
Tatsat,
Shivaya.
Om Shivaya.
Om Om.
Thank you very much.